Hello, students. Today we'll have the introduction of the third chapter of Hornbill, that is Discovering Tut. The saga continues, and we'll have the explanation of this chapter in three different parts. And today, in this particular video, we'll have the introduction and the first part of the chapter from page number 22 till page number 23. So, my dear students, this chapter is written by A.R. Williams, and this particular chapter deals with a king, an Egyptian king, and the person's name was Tutankhamun, and in short, we people know it. The world knows him as Tut. So that is how comes the name Tut over here in the title of the chapter. And when we say discovering Tut, so we actually mean over here that we want to study how the study began about mummies, of the scanning of them, because the mummies are actually very old, and they cannot be touched, and just because they are dead bodies, and it's very necessary to preserve them, and we should take care of them, people should take care of them. That is why, and in such a situation, what the person was, what did the person look like, and what were the physical features, we are not able to know simply because the whole mummy is wrapped in a piece of cloth, and it's all done with a different it was done in different resins that were available in Egypt over there. And my dear students, so this was particularly a person which was something, it was a boyish king, and it was the whole life was something, a kind of a mystery, and that is why it becomes very necessary to study about it and the different things that were found in the pyramid of Tutankhamun or King Tut. Now let's begin and have the introduction of this chapter. Now he was just a teenager, as written over here. He was just a youth, you can say. And when we say a youth, so it means that when he became the king, he was not too old, he was too young. And when he died also, he died young only, and it means that Tutankhamun or King Tut actually might have been murdered, or might have died due to some other kind of disease maybe, and so that is very required that we study about King Tut. And so let's move in now. So he was the last heir of a powerful family. Heir means successor. He was the last successor or the last king of his own dynasty in his own family. And when we say so, it means it becomes again much more critical that maybe some other dynasty, some other person, some other family would have taken over the whole empire, the Egyptian empire. Something must have happened. It's very necessary. That is why to know about the death and to know about this king who died just in a boyish age, just in a youth age. So it's very necessary to study about him. Then the whole dynasty had been ruling in Egypt for actually centuries. He was laid and rest with gold and eventually forgotten. The whole mummy was covered. The whole coffin box was made or molded in a shape which was all covered with all gold. And later on, eventually, finally, this person was forgotten, or we can say that not much has been written earlier about King Tut, so it became very necessary to study about it. Now what happened, since the discovery of his tomb actually, or you can say pyramid, in 1922, the modern world has speculated or thought over it about what happened to him, with murder being the most extreme possibility, as he was the last Egyptian king of his family line, of his bloodline. So that is why it's very important that we study about it. And moving ahead, so with the most extreme possibility, and now leaving his tomb for the first time in almost 80 years, Tut had undergone a CT scan. Now, what happened in 2005, my dear students, a CT scan of the whole mummy was done. Now, this is a very new technology that we have nowadays, that we can actually study about a particular object, about a particular body, about human body, what is inside a human body, and we can dissect the images and we can check how things look like inside. So, like suppose if we have like this pen, suppose, so we can dissect it. If yes, it's a bit transparent, but suppose if wouldn't have been transparent, it could have been if the CT scan have been done of this particular object, and then if it would have been CT scanned, and if this would have been dissected, we could have been able to know what's lays inside. Although we know that this is a pen and there is a refill inside it, and this is how we know that. But doing this with a mummy, it was something much more critical. Doing things with an X-ray, yes, things would be revealed over there about the different bones that would have been present over there. But dealing things like through CT scan, it would be a lovely image, a three-dimensional image, a lovely image of a mummy, and that would be the best thing. And King Tut's mummy was the first mummy of the world which was CT scanned, and it was done after it was done 80 years after it was actually discovered in 1922. So, and that actually offered new clues about his life and his death, how he lived and how he died, what could have been the reasons behind his death, and provides precise data for an accurate forensic reconstruction of the boyish pharaoh. Precise means we have now, because of this, we have now the exact and accurate data, a data which we can really rely on, something which is very important. And a forensic reconstruction, my dear students, forensic means something which scientific, different kind of scientific tests are done utilizing the different scientific techniques in connection with the detection of what kind of crime must have been done with this particular person, King Tut. So that's the thing, and he was a boyish pharaoh. And when we say boyish pharaoh, let me tell you, my dear students, as we in Hindi call the king as Maharaja in India, same way pharaoh was the title given to a Egyptian king. So he was the pharaoh, and he was a boyish pharaoh, and when he died, he was one of his last in his dynasty. He was the last king of his dynasty, and that is why it becomes very necessary. What was the reason? Maybe he was killed, and that is why it became very necessary that the CT scan could be done, and we had the technology in year 2005 that it could be CT scanned. And this particular mummy of King Tut was the first mummy to be CT scanned, and later on many more mummies were scanned later on. Now let's moving ahead in the chapter on page number 23, my dear students. Now, when it was an angry wind stirred up the ghostly dust devils as King Tut was taken from his resting place. Now, my dear students, people used to think that about the different things, like might be something of a curse or something. People thought that whoever will open this particular pyramid of tomb of this particular king, so it looks something very ghostly as it was opened. That particular tomb was opened, that pyramid was opened actually. An angry wind seemed stirred up the ghostly dust devils where this particular tomb was. So stirred is just it's a matter of fact that at particular time some dust devils or dust storm actually happened just right at that point of time. It didn't really we should not think this way, that there was some kind of a devil thing or some kind of a ghost thing over there, but the dust storms actually happened at that point of time. And when the mummy was taken out from his tomb or pyramid. Now, my dear students, was taken out from his resting place in the ancient Egyptian cemetery, or ancient Egyptian cemetery, or you can say graveyard. Cemetery is graveyard, my dear students, known as the Valley of Kings. the valley in which the kings were only buried, that particular cemetery is called the Valley of Kings. And the place where the queens were buried, so that is called as the Valley of Queens, my dear students. So now moving here, so when this particular mummy was taken out for the CT scan, so dark bellied clouds, so there were dark clouds over there in the sky, and they had scudded across the desert sky. They had swept over, covered over the desert sky all day, and now they were veiling the stars in cascade gray. Now they were gray in color. It was all dark over there, and it was 6 p.m. In the evening on 5th of January 2005 when the CT scan was being done. Now the world's most famous mummy glided head first into a CT scanner, and on this date the head of King Tut's mummy was just moved on a piece of a CT scanner. A bed is over there on which a person can be laid if it's if it's a live person. Here it was a dead man, it was a mummy, so that was laid on a piece of stretcher, and that actually moved from this CT scan, and the images became to happen. So the mummy glided its head into it and smoothly, and into a CT scanner brought here to probe, or we can say means to find, the lingering or the remaining medical mysteries or the secrets that was still unknown. We were able to know that of this little understood young ruler who died about 3,300 years ago. Now, all that afternoon, my dear students, the usual line of tourists were around the world before this thing was being done. So, that particular day on the 5th of January in the afternoon, there was a long line of tourists as people used to come and see from all around the world, and they had descended over there. They had entered into that particular tomb and pyramid. It is just not like a pyramid as you see. From inside, there are many rooms, simply because the Egyptians believed, especially the Egyptian kings believed, that there is life even after death. So, what they used to do, that they used to bury these people, and they had different rooms, and these kings used to different things of these kings and queens were kept in the different cabins or rooms of these kings and queens. Now moving ahead, my dear students, so there were stairs over there that actually went below, and people entered into the tomb, into that particular pyramid, and into the cramped rock-cut tomb, some about 26 feet underground, and to pay their respects over there, and they gazed or looked at the murals over there within the pyramid over there. So murals are actually, my dear students, they are paintings directly done onto the walls. Now, they gaze at the murals and on the walls of the burial chamber from inside, from within, from outside. It's just plain, as you must have seen in most of the pics which you find on Google. But from inside, there were many beautiful pictures over there, beautiful pics over there, the paintings over there, done inside on the walls of the chamber or of the different chambers of the tomb. Now moving ahead, my dear students, walls of the burial chamber and peered at Tut's gilded face. Gilded face means that was actually moving, and that could be now seen the most striking feature of his mummy shaped outer coffin lid. Now we generally nowadays, when people even have the coffin covers, actually they are actually rectangular, you can say, in shape, or it would be better if cuboid shape, if I say that. I think if I'm not wrong, so that should be a cuboid shape, and it was in it generally is of this format. But Egyptians, when they used to bury their kings and queens, there was a special facial structure and the leg structure and the hands that could be seen even on the coffin box even, and that was not made of wood. Different things were from different things it was made of, and it had the face of the particular king or queen. and different paintings or some drawings were over there, and gold, with gold it's all covered. So especially this particular king, he was all covered, the whole thing was covered with gold. So he was a very special person who died in this manner, and not much was known till this discovery was done. Now, the most striking feature of this mummy-shaped outer coffin led some visitors at that point of time. Some visitors read from the guidebooks what they had brought actually, and they were whispering things, reading things, and whispering to each other. Some stood there silently, perhaps thinking, pondering, or thinking about the touch untimely death. Why this man died so early? Why he died so young? Just as a boy, sure. What was the reason behind it? And dying in just in late teens, what could be the reason? Or wondering, a shiver, if the Pharaoh's curse, what could happen? Death or misfortune falling upon those who disturb him was really too. As people thought, there is a misfortune over there is a chance over there is a curse will fall upon the people who will open his tomb actually. So people generally did not open his tomb. So, but when this tomb was open, so people thought that way, and we studied in the first paragraph of this chapter that even the dust devils or the dust storms rose over there, which looked so that as if something is ghostly, but it was not so. It was just a pure natural phenomena that happened at that time. Now, moving ahead, my dear students, so the mummy is in very bad condition because of what Carter did in 1920s. Now, Howard Carter was the first person who actually found out this mummy, and in the 1920s, and Said Zahi Hawass, who is actually the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. As antiquities, my dear students, is actually subject when you think where you study about the ancient past. Studies are done about it. So Zahi Hawass is actually the Secretary General who is responsible, who is the Secretary General, and he is responsible of each and everything concerning all these different historical sites that are present in Egypt over there. Now, moving it as he leaned over the body for a long first time look, so Howard Carter, that is, was the British archaeologist. He was the British archaeologist. Howard Carter was a British archaeologist, my dear students. Archaeologist is actually a person who studies human history and prehistory through excavating things, digging out things of from different sites, and analysis of different artifacts taken out from the earth, and the different kind of physical remains of different things, and the buildings and all. So all data of buildings and structures, whatever left, so that are all studied in archaeology. So this person, Howard Carter, was an archaeologist. Now, who in 1922 discovered that tomb after years of futile searching. Futile searching means useless searching. He searched a lot, and then he found this particular tomb of Tutankhamun. Now, moving here, its contents, though hastily ransacked in antiquity, so it seems so that the thing, as it seemed when it was found out, so hastily ransacked. Ransack means, my dear students, plundered. So it seemed as if things could be plundered in antiquity of the ancient things, and were surprisingly complete. Now, my dear students, where these particular tombs are or pyramids are, it's a whole deserty area, and it's a place where a lot of robbers can come, and they can loot this particular area. Although a lot of security is also kept over there, but you can know through bribery people can be taken into consideration, and then nothing would be left in these tombs. So it seems so although something worst had happened with this particular mummy, and but the thing was each and every part of the body was still surprisingly complete over there. Now let's move ahead, my dear students. So they remain the richest royal collection ever found, and have become part of the pharaoh's legend. Legend means stories, and so whatever the things that were found out in his particular tomb was something that was none of the different discoveries that had been done of the different pyramids, my dear students. So it was a different thing when this particular discovery was done. This was one of the largest discoveries ever done on the mummies. Now, my dear students, let's move ahead. So, stunning artifacts in gold. There were different things found in gold over there. Artifacts means objects that are found in gold which are of historical value. Artifacts are objects which are of historical value or of cultural interest, my dear students, in gold, and the eternal brilliance, the immortal brilliance, the glowingness of, just because it was of gold, my dear students. So it was all looking so lovely, meant to guarantee resurrection. It seemed as if that the king would actually arise. It seemed that the king would really get live again. It seemed so. So, but Tut was also buried with everyday things, as I told you earlier, that Egyptian people thought that there is a life after death also, and that is why we see over here that he was buried with the different daily need things, as we study over here. And but the Tut was buried with everyday things he'd want in afterlife, like for board games were found over there. So the necessity of board games means that when this person would feel think of playing, so he would require some board games, so he can play board games. And moving ahead, so board games, then a bronze razor was over there. So obviously he was a king, he was a man, he would be requiring for shaving, so he had a razor. And linen undergarments were over there, so he could wear. And there were cases of food and wine also, where food could be kept and food and wine were available over there. Now, after months of carefully recording the pharaoh's funerary treasures, all these different things that had been gathered from his tomb, actually, my dear students, so Carter began investigating or examining or studying the three different nested coffins over there. Nested means over here, when we say nested coffins, there were three different coffins over there. Apart from this coffin, in which the King Tut was laid, so there were three different coffins were also over there. Opening in the first coffin, he found a shroud adorned with garlands of willow and olive leaves. So there were things. It was just like a box, and different things were in it. So in it was the willow and olive leaves over the garlands were over there of willow and olive leaves. Then wild celery was over there. Celery, my dear students, is a cultivable plant of parsley family. And lotus petals were found, and cornflower was found over there. Cornflower is actually a Eurasian kind of a flower, which is deep blue in color, and that was also found over there. And just because these things over there, these kind of flowers are over there, and cornflowers are generally, it all shows that this is the faded evidence of a burial in March or April, because these flowers generally bloom in that particular month only over there in Egypt. So hence, so perhaps this it's for sure this man would have died between the months of March and April. When he finally reached the mummy, though he ran into trouble, he was just wanted to take the mummy out. So he had a trouble. What the trouble was that the ritual resin had hardened. Now, when there were different rituals that were done in Egyptian way of burying the kings and the queens, the way was that the king and the queens were actually wrapped up in a cloth, and they were just not wrapped up in a cloth, but the cloth was also, and the whole mummy was wrapped in resins. And in Hindi we call it masale. we say, and lovely, which could have a good perfume over there. So lovely ones, so they were covered with that, and that is why this is one of the reasons that these these dead bodies, mummies, are still able to survive so long, many thousands of years. Now, moving ahead, my dear students, so the ritual illusions had hardened by that time, by this time, so it all had hardened. Cementing that means, my dear student, it means the body, the dead body, the mummy was actually stuck to the bottom of a solid gold coffin. So the coffin was also made of solid gold. It's just not gold. It was just not gold, of some pieces somewhere here and there. It was solid gold. You can just imagine how much gold would actually have been required for the whole of the mummy. No amount of legitimate or allowable force could actually move this mummy from its coffin to be lifted out. Now, Carter wrote later what was to be done. So, how later on this body was actually taken out by Carter from over there, and what he did before taking it out, we'll have in the next part of the video. In part 2, in the second part of the video, we'll have that in video. Thank you.